Welcome to Thisday Live, the Sunday talk show where we discuss all things political, bringing you the top stories locally, nationally, and from around the world. I'm Ruben Abati, and Thisday Live begins now. Coming up in the next hour, with the 2020 general election of the Nigerian Bar Association set to take place on Wednesday, tensions reach fever pitch. The nation's lawyers pitch their tents behind members of the inner bar and outer bar. Can the integrity of the electoral process be guaranteed? The Messier saga involving the Niger Delta Development Commission continues. The acting managing director of the commission faints during a public hearing, just as the supervising minister, Senator Godswill Akpabio, approbates and reprobates. And 1 month after President Muhammadu Buhari's ultimatum to the service chiefs on rising insecurity, the Chief of Army Staff gives an update on the progress made against the brutal killing of aid workers by insurgents and the Senate resolution calling for the removal of the service chiefs. In what has been termed an infamous letter to the 1998 transitional president of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, a senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN, Adegboyega Awomolo, SAN, expressed some very strong views on the NBA's leadership and the future of the body, stating, "It will be a great failure of leadership for the senior advocates to surrender leadership to the outer bar when there are willing and able senior advocates." Since that letter became public, clear divisions have emerged in the legal profession in Nigeria as lawyers prepare to vote in a new leader for the Nigerian Bar Association. This year's NBA election is one in which 2 of the 3 candidates for the top position of president of the NBA are senior advocates of Nigeria, making many to wonder if the letter by Awomolo SAN was advocating for the rigging of the election in favor of senior lawyers on the ballot. With the introduction of universal suffrage by e-voting in 2016, the elections of the NBA into national offices have been fraught with allegations of irregularities, manipulation, and deliberate tampering with the process, oftentimes resulting in litigation. The most recent caused the Cyber Fraud Unit of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to prefer charges this week against 2 lawyers for allegedly rigging the 2018 elections. However, on Wednesday, July the 29th, Nigerian lawyers will again go to the polls to elect their national officers. Yet, many question how credible the elections will be. Joining us now to weigh in on this is Senior Advocate of Nigeria and former chairman of the Lagos chapter of the Nigerian Bar Association, Chijoke Okoli, SAN, and respected lawyer Wale Ogwade. Well, welcome to the show. I have Chijoke Okoli, SAN, with me in the studio at this point, but Wale Ogwade is stuck in traffic, but he will join us. I was also stuck in that traffic myself, the explanation for the 1-hour delay, I guess. And, you know, the Third Mainland Bridge has been shut down since 12 midnight on Friday. But I found it really shocking that the Lagos State government, the federal government, the various agencies, including the police, the Federal Road Safety Commission, have not made any arrangements whatsoever to make it easy for Nigerians to be able to move. The FRSC promised that there will be 250 officers on the road. I did not see anybody. LASMA promised that there will be 600 officers. I did not see anybody. All their promises have been in vain, and this happened on a Sunday. What is going to happen tomorrow, on Monday? when people will go onto the streets. I consider this the height of irresponsibility and failure of governance on the part of all the parties concerned. And I hope that all the parties concerned will take steps immediately to make sure that the kind of stupidity we witnessed today on the road in Lagos will not happen tomorrow. Chijoke Okoli, SAN, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ruben, for having me.
You know, I had to give that background because you could see I'm angry.
Justifiably so, because this is not rocket science. I mean, you would have expected, some, effective measures to have been put in place. It didn't just happen on us.
But quickly, let's go into our main business. What are your expectations from the incoming president of the Nigerian Bar Association? And what kind of qualities do you think that the man who will be elected on Wednesday by Nigerian lawyers, those who have paid their practicing fees, what are the qualities you expect that person to have?
For me, we are in not even low-intensity conflict. It's an open conflict, the country. So we need what you call like a wartime leader, like the Brits had during the Second World War, the Winston Churchill. Because everywhere there's, it's like we're in an ethical wasteland. And every day we are being assailed, the institutions of states are collapsing, and people are looking justifiably so to the bar to help stem this enemy. So it's we need somebody who is really, really resilient, because a lot depends on the personal qualities of the leader. If you have somebody who has some baggage or the other, the NBA naturally will be hobbled. So we need somebody who will be speaking with magisterial authority, be able to speak truth to power, and be in a position to rally the entire membership of the Nigerian Bar Association and speak with moral force. Because, I mean, things just, collapsing everywhere on us. It's like one day we could wake up one morning and find out that, the country must exist and there be law and order before you can practice law. So it's important. The NBA necessarily has a pan-Nigerian agenda, but I think that has been missing for some time.
Yeah, well, that point. You have been chairman of the Lagos branch of the Nigerian Bar Association. Yes. And the concern generally is that the NBA is no longer playing its role in civil society. Yes. I mean, this is the same NBA that was led by Alawa Kabashorun.
Yes.
Ajibola, Wololani Pekun SAN was also head of that NBA. Akeredolu was also NBA president. But
Olisa
Agbakoba, yes, he was a civil rights activist. But what happened? Somewhere along the line, the NBA became, quiet. What happened?
I really cannot say, exactly what it is, because at each point in time, you have an election, and I think also part of the problem, speaking of the curve, have to do with this zoning thing. Because at a particular time, that is my grasp with the NBA zoning, but it's my personal opinion, that a particular time, the candidates who may be willing to throw their hats in the ring may not have the temperament required of a particular time. So you're left with only the people you're dealing with. And I can tell you that the NBA election for the presidency is a very, very tortuous process. So you have some otherwise qualified people, but who would tell you they're not really willing to go into that process, as it were. Apart from the fact that it is a very, very costly in a lot of ways. Particularly, most people, if not all the NBA presidents that I've known in recent past, you have to take sabbatical from your office for 2 years. So how many people can have their offices running seamlessly for 2 years? You're not earning an income.
Well, I mean, you talked about zoning. which is a major issue that Nigerian lawyers are talking about as they go to the polls. Now, the last two presidents of the NBA, they are from the same zone, and they from the south side, Alege and Polusoro,
yes.
right? Now, there is also now Olumide Akpata,
yes.
who is also from the south.
Yes.
And, you know, some lawyers have raised the question, how does that speak to the question of equity? Will it be right to have three presidents of the NBA back-to-back from one particular zone?
It is a tricky question. My point, let me give the background. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of zoning, because sometimes it would deprive us of maybe a particular candidate who will appear to have been made for a particular epoch. But my view is, if we have chosen for now to have that zoning, then let's respect it in substance. I'm a Democrat. But having said that, it would be nice for me to let non-lawyers who are watching us to know that the zoning in NBA is not necessarily the way the zoning is done in Nigeria. So, technically speaking, it's not like, you know, people from the same zone. Paul Osoro is not from the same zone with Alege and Olumide Akpata, who is one of the...
all three are from the south. Huh?
They're from the south. But within the NBA zoning, you have east, west, and north. So the eastern zone comprises essentially of the people who come from the old eastern region. So that's how Paul Osoro is of the eastern zone. So you had Okewale. In fact, if you're talking about South presidents, you also have to put in Okewale in recent past from Rivers State. But Okewale, just like Paul Osoro, well, for Paul Osoro now, exercising the right, so to speak, for the East.
Anyway, Okoli is saying, let's take a short commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue. I have more questions for you.
Yes.
It's time now for a short break here on Thisday Live, the Sunday Talk Show. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Thisday Live, the Sunday Talk Show here on the Arise News channel. Still with me in the studio, I have Chijoke Okoli SAN, who has been commenting on the forthcoming Nigerian Bar Association presidential elections scheduled for July the 29th. Okoli SAN, before we went on break, you were commenting on zoning.
Yes.
And you were just talking about Paul Osoro.
Yes.
And the others who have come from the South.
Yes.
But you can continue with that, but when you land, I would also like you to comment on the rivalry between the inner bar and the outer bar, because I'm aware that Awomolo SAN had issued a statement saying, look, we should allow the inner bar to provide the leadership because that's where maturity resides. And then Wole Olanipekun SAN has also, on behalf of the Egbe Amofin, clearly identified a candidate that has been endorsed by the Southwest wing. That's the Egbe Amofin from the Southwest. So I'd like you to comment on all of this.
I think this is a very important issue. I will say first, the perceived dichotomy of the bar is more apparent than real. A lot of people would simulate it. For me, it's not really there. Because in every profession, you have the top, which is what the SAN formally represents. There are also those who have reached the top of the profession. Maybe they've chosen a different path. They are not litigators. So, but for me, is regarding the letter by Awomolo, I think he's entitled to his view, which is to be respected. He's a very senior member of the bar. I know him very well. And his wife is also a silk, is his view. But I would say, personally, I don't share that view as much as he's entitled to that. And I will tell you something also. The view expressed by Awomolo is not peculiar to him or some other senior advocates. There are some non-senior advocates who share that view. And since my friend Anthony Ebe has made it public on his Facebook, the former chairman of Ikorodu branch, he's not an SAN, and he's a senior pastor in one of the Redeemed churches, very top-line professional. He also shares that view amongst others. But I personally don't, and I'm not just saying it for the sake of it. You know why? It's not hidden. During the last election, Afamo Sigwe, who was General Secretary at the time of Alege, ran, he was disqualified. There's nothing. I was the one who proposed him as a senior advocate, even though some of my brothers thought, but it's not a problem. I think that wisdom is not the exclusive or administrative nous. It's not the exclusive preserve of senior advocates. Let's have the larger pool, and then at the end of the day, let's pick the best candidate. That's my personal view.
Well, young lawyers,
yes,
are also part of the equation in this election.
Yes.
They think that senior lawyers are not paying enough attention to remuneration. Many senior lawyers recruit these new weeks, and they just pay them starvation wages, and they claim that they're giving them the opportunity to have quality experience. What do you think the next NBA president should do about remuneration for lawyers? New weeks, particularly.
Let me tell you, you see, it's an open, that's one thing that a lot of seniors dancing around the corner. First and foremost, if you Google it, as small as the number of lawyers the Ghanaians were bringing, the last CJ of Ghana, a lady, she was saying, no, you have to control the numbers. But you see, the point is that once the numbers are here, we have to take, those who have made it, that we have as lawyers, we have to take steps to do the best we can. But we have to look fundamentally at the problem. You cannot legislate formally how much a senior lawyer must pay when you're not legislating his bottom line. It would be nice to say anybody who comes out of law school, even during service, you start the person on 500,000. That would be very nice. But if the salary of the lawyers in an office in a month comes to like 5 million, and then that office does not generate 1 million in that month, you see a massive disconnect. Yeah, the lawyers are fond of using this Latinese, nemo dat quod non habet.
You can't give what you don't have.
What you don't have. You see, the point which a lot of people are not addressing is the constricted space for the rule of law. That translates to constriction in the remuneration that comes to the legal profession generally. So you have a situation where the EFCC and the police, not formally, but the operatives, if you, speaking of anecdotal evidence, in a year, billions of money ends up in operatives who are helping to resolve this thing. These are monies that ordinary people will come to lawyers. But because the administration of justice system over the time, I think all the lawyers were responsible. But I think we need to address that point.
Okay, I have two more questions for you.
Yes.
I hope we can take them quickly,
yes,
one after the other. The first is that globalization has changed the practice of law.
Yes.
Now, what kind of changes would you like to see the next NBA president focus upon, either in terms of practice or the world of work in law?
Yeah, I mean, we just have to come to terms with the changing reality, particularly the effect of information technology. Bring it to bear in the practice of law, and then expand the scope of other things. I do a lot of work. I have an sports and entertainment law practice group. We have to expand the frontiers. My master's degree is on sports law. So there are areas we have to push so that more juniors can come, more lawyers generally, not only the juniors, because if you're talking about welfare, a lot of the seniors need welfare as well, I can tell you. So, but what I'm saying is that when we have a more inclusive, prosperous profession that has its own dignity, it will be good for everybody, not just the juniors, but also for the seniors. Because I can tell you, a lot of the seniors' offices are struggling. And where I come into a particular point now, particularly the majority are still doing litigation. A lot of in spite of the COVID, some of the courts are going on vacation. This is impacted badly on the earning capacity of a lot of law firms. The other day it went viral. Some young lawyer working in a big office in Abuja said that about 50 of them were let go. Okay, but just to wrap this up, do you have a candidate in this contest? And do you think 2 years is enough for any NBA president to make a difference? Well, now you've asked me. It's not hidden because I made it public. I'll start by saying that at my level, all the candidates are my good friends, and I believe, I say it, that they are capable. But I think that Tunde Ajibade is the best man for the job. They're all very good. Well, if Ogunade had been here, Ogunade says Daily Additional SAN, that son, is the best man for the job. So I guess every lawyer who has paid his practicing fees will have their own candidates. And there are persons who say, well, they don't want an SAN, they want Olumide Akpata. But I think that on Wednesday, I hope that the process will be transparent. That is what we really hope. May the best man win. It is a fundamental malady if amongst lawyers we will start having problems about the legitimacy of our election. But about the choices, this saying that put 10 lawyers in one room and then you have 10 different opinions. Yes. So let's hope that the Nigerian Bar Association, when it goes to the polls on Wednesday, the three candidates will defend the rule of law. It will be very sad to see lawyers abusing the law and not being able to manage their own affairs. Thank you very much, Chijoke Okoli, SAN, for joining us on Thisday Live. Thank you, Ruben, for having me here. Thank you. Yes. It's time now for a short break here on Thisday Live, the Sunday talk show. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Thisday Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. Still with me right now in the studio, I have Professor Bola Akintenwa, Director General, Bolitech Center for International Diplomacy and Strategic Studies. And of course, our one and only Yemi Adamolekun, Executive Director, Enough is Enough. Well, Yemi, Prof, you must have been listening to Chijoke Okoli SAN. On Wednesday, the Nigerian Bar Association will elect a new set of officers for the next 2 years. And it's been a hotly contested election. But the big issue, one of the issues I brought up with Okoli SAN, is about the role of the NBA in civil society. And he himself regretted the fact that the NBA has not been living up to expectation. Now, the NBA may belong to lawyers, but it also occupies a special place in society. So, Yemi, what do you expect in terms of the NBA itself respecting the rule of law and ensuring that the leadership that it puts in place can focus on the right issues? And what are those issues from a civil society perspective?
Thank you. I think one of the really one of the key things will be the elections. Lawyers, as we know, have become by default the de facto deciders of elections in Nigeria, really. Because by INEC's rules, once a winner has been declared...
Chief Robert Clark says election time is chop time for lawyers.
Indeed. Because once INEC has declared a winner, nothing can be done. Everything else goes to court. And I think that the role that lawyers have played in a sense, really just bastardizing our electoral process is also reflected in their own elections. Because the last elections was really poorly handled. There are allegations of fraud, allegations that the current NBA chairman had some fraudulent dealings. The EFCC, I think a few days ago, picked up some members involved in the last elections. So I think for me, even just starting from the election process on Wednesday will be extremely key. There have already been issues around because you needed to pay. So there were people on the NBA rule that were not human beings, but they were just sort of bank notes, bank memos rather, that showed up that was not tied to a person, but yet that's one person taking up space. So I think that's one major thing. And I think secondly is the point that Mr. Okoli made, that really looking forward to an NBA that's able to speak truth to power. And unfortunately, just also because of the commercial nature of our elections and the role that lawyers play, it's become very difficult to have lawyers who, in a sense, can speak to government and stand on the sides of society on what is right. And then the whole process of judges and buying, in the sense of what we call buying judgments. So I think those for me are really, the NBA chairman coming in would have a lot on his shoulders to, I mean, they're all men running, will have a lot on his shoulders to really set the pace for what lawyers represent in society and use that sort of pedestal to be able to speak truth in the society.
Well, Prof, certainly we can't leave this NBA election to lawyers alone. Given, as Yemi has pointed out, the strategic role that lawyers play in society. So what's your take with regard to how lawyers should manage their own affairs and they don't come out of this election showing that lawyers are also lawless?
Yeah, first of all, Okoli raised two important points to which I want to add one. The first point is his emphasis on magisterial authority, moral force, and pan-Nigerian agenda. When you did ask him the question, what were his expectations? He explained that it would be good to have leadership, someone, a president, who will have the magisterial authority, right, combined with moral force for the purposes of evolving, a new pan-Nigerian agenda. I will agree with that in total. And the reason, which is linked to the question you have raised, how do they manage their own affairs, all those things? If you do not have a leader who really has, the integrity, the personality, then you cannot be talking about self-management. The issue, you also did raise that is the nexus between the inner bar and the outer bar. Now, he came up with the argument indirectly that, look, well, one does not need to have a Solomonic wisdom to be able to manage the affairs of the NBA and so on and so forth, that you can as well have people who are not necessarily senior advocates of Nigeria. Yeah. And in this case, the case of Akpata can come in, even though he believes he holds a different view entirely. But I want to subscribe to this argument that, yes, at times you have academic professors who have the reservoir of knowledge. You have more knowledge than people who are not. But the issue, in terms of capacity to think beyond the box, is not exclusive to senior people. And I want to agree with him that in this case, try to identify who has the capacity and the capability to deliver. This is the way we should look at it. And the additional point I want to add to it, additional point is just that, look, if lawyers who are said to be learned and they claim, now, how should they be corrupt? Why should they be rigging election 2016, 2018? If people who will be arguing for and against are themselves very corrupt.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, we hope that lawyers will not rig elections and that the elections of the NBA that will take place on Wednesday, July 29th, will be free, fair, transparent, and that the best man will win. Let's take the next topic. Last week, just as the investigative probe of the Niger Delta Development Commission, Nddc, was heating up, the acting managing director of the commission, Professor Daniel Pondei, appeared to have suffered a fainting spell an hour into his testimony. The dramatic incident forced the ad hoc committee of the House of Representatives, which was conducting the probe, to temporarily halt its proceedings and allow him grace from further public hearing.
Excuse me, MD is not feeling fine. Please. Thank
Development Commission. The Nddc plays a vital role in ensuring.
Well, some mix up there. But shortly after Pondei was carried out of the hearing room, the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio, in his own testimony, and much to the consternation of the legislators, accused members of the National Assembly of being awarded most of the contracts of the Nddc.
Development Commission, because of the fact that we are doing forensic audit, the Nddc plays a vital role in ensuring the peace and security of the region, and 90% or more of the resources of the country on a monthly basis comes from there. If you close it down in totality, all you have will be chaos, and you have a lot of not just militancy, but you have a lot of insurrection. So it is important that people who have gone to court, people who genuinely did jobs, should be paid for their jobs. So for me, I'm not against it, because who are even the greatest beneficiaries? It's two people now. Okay. Because if you look at your chairman,
Following the allegation, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, gave the minister 48 hours to name the lawmakers who had been given Nddc contracts.
Of Niger Delta. It is indeed disturbing. I had a good laugh, almost tickled, but I realized that it wasn't even funny. Just throw something out there, a wild allegation, without any basis, without any foundation, without any shred or iota of evidence, and distract from the main issue. On that note, I've been in this house this is my 5th term here. I've never once collected anything from the National Assembly. And I know I speak for a great majority of members of this house. Great majority. And because of that, I will take this matter and this allegation and accusation very serious. And I will give the minister 24 to 48 hours. And Clark, I want you to back this up with a letter from this house. To give the minister 24 to 48 hours to publish the names, the contracts so given, the dates, because obviously these things will be documented. Unveil the companies of the 60% projects that were given to members of the National Assembly, failing which.
But rather than accept the invitation to name and shame his former colleagues, Senator Godswill Akpabio retracted his allegation by denying that the lawmakers were recipients of most Nddc contracts. With the mismanagement and malfeasance in the Nddc now being turned into a comedy of errors, is there any hope that a 20-year-old interventionist agency can bring succor to the people of the oil-rich region in the country. Well, you know the story. You know the rest of it. Minister, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
So, yeah,
Are you saying that?
So, yeah, what is it that is okay and what is not okay?
Well, I think it's in a way it was actually good to watch what happened quote unquote in living color. So it's not that it was a closed hearing. I mean, similar to Festus Keyamu's incident when he was saying that no, we must do this in the full glare of the Nigerian people. So I think that's one good thing that came out of that. But the second thing that I believe would also hopefully get Nigerians thinking is the dynamic between, for example, Akpabio and the Nddc committee. I mean, the chairman got really ruffled, tried to get him to keep quiet, saying it's okay, it's okay.
Off the mic, Minister, off the mic.
Exactly. So, I mean, that for me spoke volumes. But even, I think the next level of that, more disturbingly, is for Minister Akpabio to then come back and say he didn't say it. What all of us, literally, if you weren't watching live, I'm sure the video ended up in your WhatsApp some way, somehow. For him to now deny that he was taken out of context, or he didn't really say what he said, I think makes a fool of us as Nigerians. I mean, which will not be the first time. If Mr. Akpabio is able to get away with that, because literally he lied under oath, and he's still a sitting minister, nothing has happened. Then again, President Buhari is quite busy with other things. So it speaks to a lot of our challenges.
Maybe the president is not aware.
Yeah, but that excuse is old. Even if he's, but the fact, and actually thank you for saying that, the fact that he's not aware is a problem. That a sitting minister of yours who had corruption charges against him, and look, Mr. Akpabio was governor of Akwa Ibom for 8 years. In a 4-year period, I think Akwa Ibom received 1.4 trillion naira. From that, he went to being senator, and now he's a minister. His fraud charges were dropped, supposedly for him to cross from PDP to APC. Now, that's speculative, but the point is the charges were dropped. Now, he's a sitting minister. This has happened in full view of everybody, and he still has a job. Not only that, Mr. Gbajabiamila, oh yeah, I like the fact that he wants to defend the National Assembly, that no, my colleagues don't do such. But the National Assembly does not have an open budget. So he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. If you want to supervise, which is your role as a National Assembly, have oversight, your oversight role over MDAs, of which the ministry and Nddc fall under, then you must be able to come from a position of authority because your books are clean and your books are clear. That is not the case with the National Assembly. And so for Mr. Gbajabiamila to say that is also posturing, saying that, oh, no, we don't, that's not, we should give us the names of people. And I challenge Mr. Gbajabiamila this afternoon to go to the end with this thing. Because he has said if you don't, you will prosecute or start charges against Mr. Akpabio for maligning the members of the National Assembly. Regardless of what Mr. Akpabio said in his letter, that he didn't say that, you heard him say it. So unless he said he was under a spell or his spirit was possessed or somebody took over his voice cords, he said it and you heard it. So challenge him based on what you heard him say, not on what he said he didn't say that we all heard.
Well, Prof, I'd like
sorry, and the last point, before Prof, sorry, and the last point. As you said in your intro, Nddc is an interventionist agency. If you set up an agency that's supposed to intervene, that has no start date, no end date, no deliverables, we will still money ad infinitum. But if you give Nddc clear mandates to, we need 10 roads built, 2 hospitals built in a 10-year period, get to work. But no, we keep allocating money.
Well, Prof,
sorry, sir.
You have had, Yemi, what's your own take on this story? And then just to add to what she has said, the Senate eventually came forward and made a number of recommendations to the president. Yeah. One, that the interim management committee of the Nddc should be disbanded and a proper board should be constituted. Second, that agency, the Nddc that is, should be returned to the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. In other words, to ensure that the supervision is directly from the presidency and not under the Ministry of Niger Delta.
So it can be aware. So the president will not
so that the president can be fully apprised, fully seized of whatever goes on in that agency.
First point.
Your thoughts.
First point. The whole exercise lends a good credence to what a British Prime Minister told the Queen of England, that Nigeria is fantastically corrupt. So this is an illustration of that point. The second point of interest is that Pondei himself, can it be rightly argued that he fainted? He didn't faint.
We are not medical doctors. We don't know.
Did you see that grip on his hand?
Please, we need not be medical practitioners to ask that question and understand. The issue is this. Anybody who is in a fainted position, when you faint, it implies non-consciousness at that particular moment in ordinary biology. Now, in this case, he fainted. He could walk. He could still do many things. Leave that one aside. I want to link it up to the questions you raised.
Are you trying to suggest that the acting managing director of the IMC of the NDDC is an actor?
Yes.
And that he was truly acting?
Yes.
He is more than an actor in this particular case. You see, the issue is this. I cannot understand what logic would have informed the position of the chair of the committee to say that, okay, because he fainted, therefore you can be excused. That's why I always come to the use of this phrase, panel beating. We try to panel beat corruption in Nigeria. Now, as to the position of the Senate, drawing the attention of Mr. President to that, now saying that the NDC or IMC should be disbanded and that the whole structured institution should now be put under the presidency. My question is this. Those who have been involved in this fantastic corruption, are they not Nigerians? The blood flowing in their capillaries, in their veins, in their system, blood system, is the blood not Nigerian? Now, when you disband and you now take the institution to the presidency, are the people in the presidency Holy Marys? Are they saints? All these complaints of corruption here and there, are they not people in the public service and in the presidency? They have been mentioning them. So it's a question of making changes in continuity, change in person, change of individuals, continuity of corruption. What we are supposed to be told is simply now, if you say you do not want IMC, etc. along, tell us the mechanism, give us the criteria, the determinants that when you now have a new structure in place, there will be a change in situational reality. So at the end of the day, in this country, please, we still scientifically, whenever you bring an individual into a new position, he steals and he's protected. You are a thief if you are caught. But when you are not caught, you are not a thief.
Well, Prof, let me come back to you, and let me throw something else into the equation. The Northeast Development Commission, which came after the NDDC, almost 20 years after the NDDC, we've also had that in the last 3 years, 100 billion naira
only
what do you say only? Has disappeared, has been misappropriated, has been mismanaged in that other commission. Are you surprised that that is the case? And then secondly, there are people who are saying, look, these development commissions, we really no longer need them and that they should be scrapped. Do you think that they should be scrapped, starting with the NDDC and hopefully the 100 billion naira that is missing at the NEDC will also be looked into?
I think so. I mean, obviously, as you've said, with NDDC and the Northeast Commission, what they're set up to do, they haven't accomplished them. And again, the whole conversation around NDDC has been headed by people from the Niger Delta. The whole idea of setting it up was to, in a sense, quote unquote, compensate a particular portion of a segment of the country who do feel marginalized. They said, you know what, let's pump in money and upgrade infrastructure. Since oil comes from that region. But the people who are from that region have also stolen the same money you said other parts of the country have stolen. So if we're going to do a whole stealing spree, there's no need to set up pockets of, specialized stealing. Because the whole system as it is a challenge. The head of your corruption agency is being accused of corruption. So that in a sense sets the tone for where we are, and I think this speaks to Prof's point. But again, we can slice and dice these things any way we want, but ultimately the buck stops at the table of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. From his body language to his signaling to that he doesn't really talk, but that he's aware or that he's not aware, all that this says, because nobody is being prosecuted in a way that sends a really strong signal, that it is okay to steal. And unfortunately, what I am most afraid of is not even the corruption bit of it, is the fact that we're normalizing injustice. Because you steal money. We do investigative reports. We spend hours on media and in newspapers talking about it, expose. We see in living color you lie. We see in living color you attempt to feint or fake a feint. That happens.
Okay, Yemi,
it's okay. It's okay.
Off your mic. Off your mic, Yemi.
Sorry, no, let me land on that. Sorry. So you steal. We do a probe in front of sort of a national audience. There's no shame. And then there's no justice. So what we invariably keep doing with each off your mic episode that we're all watching, when we see that after offing mic, Akpabio remains senator for the next 3 years, what signal does that send?
Prof.
No, Akpabio told the chairman and all others, acting, saying, you don't know, you don't know, but the chairman, they know. They know. In this case, all of us do know the truth in this particular matter. The problem is not setting up new institution or disbanding that. I think Simon Kolawole referred to, quoted Oronto Douglas in his article of today. Oronto Douglas said the main problem is simply lack of political will to develop. Yeah. That we do not need all these institutions. I remember when Oronto Douglas said that. And in this case, if there is political will, Nddc, IMC, they will work. Yeah. You should not forget that, look, currently, I am the coordinator for NDC Lagos State, National Anti-Corruption Volunteer Corps. But you see, by July 30, 2-3 days time, we will be 1 year old. But the government has not done anything to enable us to fight corruption.
Why not? The other day, you had a joint parade with the EFCC and the ICPC.
That's what I'm telling you.
So why will you say they've not been supporting?
We contributed. I got many people to fund our activities and so on and so forth. The government has not released any 1 naira to do all this. But you will see campaigns, reports that ICPC is doing this, EFCC is doing that, and also at the ordinary level, where we want to preach to the grassroots market women that, look, there's no goodness in corruption.
So, Prof, your group is asking for funding.
It's not just that.
No, you want your own funding.
No, but we need funding to
fight corruption.
To fight corruption, but not money in terms of stealing. It's not in the Nddc format. We got, for instance, an accommodation. Our own members, we contributed.
Anyway, Prof, I'm sure that for the next 10 years, we'll still be discussing this subject about how to ensure transparency.
We are fantastically corrupt. It's as simple as that.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Akintewa, and thank you, Yemi Adamolekun. You've been watching Thisday Live, the Sunday talk show here on Arise News. I'm Ruben Abati. For my entire team here at the Lagos studio, it's bye for now, and thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next Sunday. Thank you.